In a world addicted to noise, constant talking, endless posts, and performative words, we've lost the art of the most dangerous tool in human history: strategic silence. While everyone else is busy shouting their plans, the truly powerful know that words are the enemy of influence. They win not by speaking, but by letting others speak themselves into weakness. Niccolo Machiavelli, the original master of power, knew this secret. He didn't write The Prince to teach rulers how to rule, but how to dominate by saying nothing. The vulgar crowd judges by appearances, he warned. Speech creates illusions. Silence protects reality. In an age of oversharing, the strategic silencer doesn't just survive, they thrive. They let others talk while they observe. They let others commit while they adapt. And when the world is busy arguing, they're busy winning. Cut to a close-up of a chessboard. A single black queen moves silently across the board, dominating every piece in its path. What if I told you the greatest power isn't in what you say, but in what you refuse to reveal? Let's expose why silence isn't just golden, it's a weapon. The price of reckless words. Every word you speak is a leak in your ship. The more you talk, the faster you sink. Machiavelli warned, men judge by the eyes, not the hands. They see your words, but they feel your power, or lack of it. When you declare your plans, you bind yourself. Say you'll launch a business and suddenly you're a fraud if you pivot. Announce your goals and critics swarm. Speech turns flexibility into liability. Silence keeps your options open. It lets you adapt, strike, or retreat without begging for permission. But the deeper cost, speech exposes your mind. Every explanation, every justification, every rant is data for your enemies. The first sign of intelligence, Machiavelli wrote, is judging the company a ruler keeps. The same applies to you. The more you explain, the more you reveal your limits. Your words become a map to your weaknesses. And then there's the death of mystique. It's safer to be feared than loved, Machiavelli advised. Fear demands distance. Distance demands mystery. The leader who explains every decision becomes a peer, not a power. The influencer who shares every thought becomes predictable. The negotiator who fills silences with words gives away leverage. Cut to a time-lapse of a roaring bonfire shrinking to ashes as voices chatter over it. In the 16th century, careless words got you killed. Today, they get you ignored. Oversharing turns you into background noise. The colleague who talks in every meeting, a ghost. The friend who posts every life detail, a spectacle. The politician who defends every criticism, a weakling. Machiavelli would call this modern transparency cult a disaster. We trade power for praise, influence for likes, and mystery for the illusion of connection. But what if the greatest power isn't in being seen, but in being unseen? The three faces of power. Machiavellian silence isn't just absence, it's a trilogy of power. Three forms, each deadlier than the last. 1. Information-gathering silence. The spy's advantage. The fool speaks first. The strategist listens first. The wise man acts before the fool finishes, Machiavelli wrote. Silence is your grass, your camouflage. Let others talk themselves into revealing their fears, their plans, their desperation. Every word they speak is a gift. Every rant is a weakness exposed. The negotiator who stays quiet collects leverage. The leader who listens gains the truth. 2. Authority-building silence. The crown's weight power speaks sparingly. A prince, Machiavelli warned, must be a fox, be to avoid traps, lion to terrify wolves. Silence is the fox's den. The more you talk, the more you become a peer. The less you speak, the more you become a myth. Think of the CEO who answers questions with pauses, the artist who vanishes between projects. The silence isn't empty, it's a throne. 3. Ambiguity-preserving silence, the phantom's game. It's safer to be feared than loved, Machiavelli urged. But what if you can be both? Ambiguity preserves power. Silence lets others project their hopes and fears onto you. Politicians thrive on it. Billionaires vanish into it. The moment you clarify, you shrink. Stay vague and you become a mirror for their desires. Cut to a chessboard where a single silent move checkmates a flurry of reckless pieces. Silence isn't passive, it's a sword, a shield, and a mirror. It's how the strong win while the loud are still begging for attention. But the greatest trick? Making them think you're harmless, until it's too late. The silent war inside your mind. Silence isn't just a strategy, it's a battlefield. The moment you choose to stay quiet, your mind rebels. Speak, it screams. Defend, explain, justify. This is the modern paradox. We've been trained to fear silence, to see it as guilt or weakness. But Machiavelli knew better. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, he wrote, without the fox's cunning. Silence triggers psychological warfare. When you refuse to fill the void, others project their insecurities onto you. The colleague who waits for your reaction reveals their anxiety. The friend demanding answers exposes their need for control. Even your own mind becomes a weapon. Every urge to speak is a test of discipline. Will you sacrifice power for comfort? Or will you let the silence work? Cut to a close-up of a clock ticking backward. Here's the secret. Silence creates time. Time to observe, to calculate, to strike when the moment's ripe. The noisy competitor rushes, the silent operator waits. Think of Shakespeare's Iago, a villain who destroyed lives not with actions, but with strategic whispers and pauses. Or Sun Tzu, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. But the greatest enemy? Yourself. The fear of silence is the fear of power. We've been conditioned to believe that authenticity means spilling your guts. Machiavelli would call this foolish. Authenticity isn't about vomiting your thoughts. It's about choosing when to let them devastate. The discipline of silence is a forged skill. It requires burning away the need to be liked, the urge to explain, the addiction to noise. Every moment of silence is a repetition in strength, a repetition in authority, a repetition in becoming the unseen force that shapes reality while others beg for attention. The question isn't, can you handle silence? It's, can your enemies handle your silence? The transparency trap, when authenticity betrays you. Modern culture screams, be authentic, share your truth. But Machiavelli would scoff. Transparency is a Trojan horse. It demands you sacrifice tomorrow's power for today's validation. The CEO who shares unfiltered thoughts becomes a personality, not a leader. The artist who documents every creative misstep loses their edge. The negotiator who keeps no secrets has nothing left to trade. Cut to a time lapse of a tree growing inside a glass box, its roots twisting to escape. What's the cost of this authenticity? You forfeit three things: future options, declare your path, and deviation becomes failure. Psychological leverage, overshare, and others weaponize your words. Mystery, the moment you're fully known, you're boring. Machiavelli's solution, selective revelation, not lying, strategizing. The poker player doesn't hide their cards, they let you think you've seen them. The politician says just enough to let believers fill in the blanks. The artist vanishes, leaving their work to whisper louder than any interview. Visual, a masked performer takes a bow as the crowd cheers, their face obscured. This isn't hypocrisy, it's survival. Sun Tzu warned, all warfare is based on deception. Your words are either a bridge to power or a noose around your neck. The key is asymmetry. Know more than you share, listen more than you speak, observe more than you react. But here's the final twist. The greatest silence isn't in words, it's in actions. Let your results roar while others argue over sound bites. As Machiavelli himself proved, the most influential figures don't need to justify, they simply are. Cut to a black screen with white text. The world remembers the silent victors and forgets the loud. So ask yourself, are you playing the game, or are you the game? The silent victory, how to weaponize the void. The ultimate mastery of silence isn't in the absence of words, it's in the dominance of the void they leave. Machiavelli's genius wasn't in what he wrote, but in what he implied. The unspoken threat, the unanswered question, the pause that hangs like a guillotine. To weaponize silence, you must become a student of the unsaid. Study the cracks in conversations. The moment a rival over-explains, that's your opening. The second a crowd demands your reaction, that's your leverage. Silence isn't passive, it's a sword pointed inward. It forces others to confront their own insecurities while you observe and adapt. Cut to a close-up of a stopwatch ticking backward as a shadowy figure dismantles a chessboard, piece by piece. Here's your blueprint. Be the void. Let others fill your silence with their weaknesses. Become the mystery. The moment they think they've figured you out, retreat further. Strike through absence. Sometimes the greatest move is no move. Let their noise self-destruct. The world rewards the loud, the frantic, the desperate to be seen. But history is written by those who refuse to perform. Think of Banksy, vanishing while their art screams. Think of Satoshi Nakamoto, silent while Bitcoin rewrites economies. Think of every leader who let their actions echo while their words whispered. The final lesson? Silence is the ultimate revenge against a world addicted to noise. It's not a withdrawal, it's a declaration. A promise that you'll win not by playing the game, but by redefining it. So the next time you're tempted to speak, ask, does this word serve my legacy, or am I just feeding the machine? Remember, Machiavelli's greatest trick wasn't in the pages of The Prince, but in the silences between them. The most powerful sentence ever written, the one never spoken. The unseen victory, when silence outlives words. History forgets the loud, it immortalizes the silent. The rulers who shouted decrees, gone. The thinkers who whispered strategies, legends. Machiavelli's own life proved this. Exiled, silenced, buried, yet his ideas outlived every throne he ever served. Cut to a time lapse of a tree growing through the ruins of a castle, its roots cracking stone. True power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. The moment you stop explaining, the world starts speculating. The moment you stop defending, the crowd starts doubting their own judgments. Silence isn't erasure, it's eternal presence. Like gravity, you feel its weight most when it's missing. The final paradox? The more you surrender to silence, the more you claim. You become the question no one dares ask, the threat no one can dissect, the vacuum that pulls others into your orbit. Even your absence becomes a weapon. Cut to a close-up of a single playing card, the Joker, left face down on a table as coins pile up around it. So what's your move? Will you keep feeding the noise machine? Or will you let your silence become the architect of your legacy? Remember, the world is a stage, but the greatest actors know when to step into the shadows and let the audience wonder. The most dangerous people never roar. They wait and let their silence write history. Who will you be when no one is watching? The answer lies in what you refuse to say.